I think that Meta invested $14 billion dollars into Scale AI in 2025 and then hired Alexandr Wang to be a part of Meta's AI efforts is because they want to label physical data using their Meta Ray-Ban glasses. So let me unpack that a little bit. Um, Last year in 2025, Meta invested, I think it was $14 billion dollars into Scale AI, and it was effectively an acquisition, right? Like they purchased 50% of their business, and a lot of found like I think the founding team and the investors got payouts, and they hired Alexander Wang to be a part of Meta. So it was essentially an acquisition, right? And a lot of people were confused about that. Like, why would Meta care about this company? How does it actually benefit um, their strategy here? And it became even more confusing because the head of AI for Meta, his name is Jan LeCun. He's actually one of the most famous AI researchers in the world. I think he recently left Meta because he was unhappy with how much power Alexander Wang was getting in the organization, and so he left for that reason. So what's the strategy here, right? Like it just doesn't really seem to make a lot of sense. But then you think about it, I spent a lot of time thinking about this over the last few months, and it became very clear to me recently what they're trying to do. Meta realizes that they can't compete with OpenAI or Anthropic or Alphabet or XAI on model quality. They just can't. They don't have the same caliber of researchers as these other companies do. Now, that's no disrespect to the AI researchers at Meta. It's just at the end of the day, like they don't have many top 50 researchers, right? And so they can't really compete on models. It's just really, really challenging to do so. And so I think what they're doing now is they want to get into the business of selling physical data, um, you know, labeled data in the physical world to governments, to AI companies, to hardware companies, right? To defense contractors as well. You know, think about it like this. If you are wearing your Meta Ray-Ban glasses and you are just, you're just walking around, you're getting a lot of data, right? Like you're getting a lot of information about the physical world that a lot of these companies can use for whatever purposes they have, right? Um, and so it actually really, really benefits them. But here's the thing though. How do you actually label that data and how do you ensure that it's actually useful to these companies? So in other words, like if I'm wearing my Ray-Ban glasses and I'm cooking, right? That's all great, but that's raw data, right? Like there's nothing that's labeled. Um, I'm sure that an AI could generally make out what's going on, but it's not going to be perfect, right? And then on top of that, cooking is a pretty common thing. What happens when it comes to things like, fixing, some sewage for your sink, or, even stuff like this is a bit of a different example, but when you think about Tesla, Tesla trains their self-driving cars on imaging, right? So, in other words, like they have a lot of data on people driving their cars, and then they use that data to train their self-driving cars, right? And it's really fascinating stuff. So, but imagine if an AI company wants to build, you know, um, like an AI lawnmower, for example. Like it's like a little device you can buy that can just mow your lawn for you. It just kind of like goes around your lawn. Well, you need video of people mowing their lawns, for example, right? And so I think that that's actually why Alexander Wang is part of Meta and why he has such a prominent position, because that sort of data is just so valuable and you can sell that for so much money. And it really is going to power the future of AI, right? In the way that NVIDIA is powering, AI with their GPUs, you also need the data sets, right? Like you also need video, you also need physical uh, data that's labeled. Now I'll take a step back. Scale AI, for those of you who don't know, is a company that was founded by Alexander Wang and a few others. And pretty much what they do is they set up these shops in the Philippines, and pretty much they get people like they hire locals to sit in these labs, and then they just label data. So um, in other words, like let's say for example, these people from the Philippines are sitting at their desks and they're given an image of a stop sign. They would type in their computer stop sign and then submit that. And if there's a light, like a traffic light, and it's a red light, they would write traffic light, red light, right? And then they would submit that as well. And so the thing that's really cool about this is the fact that um, now when you submit an image to OpenAI, for example, like let's say for example you're using ChatGPT, you submit an image, it has a much better understanding of what it's looking at, right? Like it has so much data, so much labeled data that it's trained on that you can submit a photo and there's a very good chance it can interpret what's going on. And so that's really the cool thing about it, right? And that's essentially what Meta, I think, is trying to do with video, right? Like they want to make it so that if a company wants to build, an AI whatever that operates in the physical world, they would have to go and purchase these data sets from Meta, right? Or if the government wants to purchase, like if, for example, a government's military wants to train autonomous weapons, for example, Anduril comes to mind, they would purchase those data sets from Meta. And it's just this endless thing, right? Like um, there's just so that like the possibilities are really endless. And I think that Meta realizes that this is going to be such a huge opportunity, and it could be worth tens of billions, or if not hundreds of billions of dollars in a decade. And that's why I think they're spending so much money on AI and really trying to push these Ray-Ban glasses out there. So, in other words, the reason why they brought on Alexander Wang is not to compete on LLM quality. It's very much to compete and ultimately dominate the world of physical data, because I don't think anyone else is going to be doing it. I think that Meta is the only company that, well, there are a few other startups that are doing AI glasses, but I think it's going to be very hard for a lot of these AI glasses companies to compete with Meta because they just have so much money that's being poured into this. So that's pretty much what's going on, in my opinion, and why I think Meta invested all that money into Scale AI and then hired Alexander Wang. So that's my video for today.